Hi, I went on some jungle hikes in Costa Rica and I'm here to tell you that I had a real good time. I enjoyed beautiful jungle vibes. I saw a bunch of scenes that looked like the pictures you would see in a Starbucks. I was attacked by the nether. Oh, weather. I crossed a swollen river. I went on a big red bridge. I don't know why that's funny. And I got to spend some wonderful time with my wife and daughter. It all started on a beautiful day at Miami International Airport. We boarded a plane and experienced our first rejected takeoff. I did some digging in the air traffic control archives and figured out that we had experienced a thrust reverser unlock indicator.
American 597, rejected takeoff, runway 27, no assistance required, requesting to exit at Tango 5. We had a reverser unlock indication.
If you don't know, thrust reversers are what are used to stop the plane when you land the plane. The pilots thought this was a good reason to stop the takeoff. Probably a good call. We got on another plane that also had some technical issues that made us sit there for a long time. We finally took off, flew to Costa Rica, had an amazing time overall, but we're going to be talking about some jungle photography today. During these excursions, I used a Sony a7S Mark III, I used a Sony 16 to 35mm f4, and a Sony 70 to 200mm f4. So while we were there, we went on a hike to a waterfall called Bihagwal Waterfall, although this is a shack. At the beginning of the hike, there was a fellow there that warned us that if it started raining, we needed to turn around and come back. We were just looking for the waterfall.
Yes. The problem now is the rain.
The rain? Okay.
You can do it, but when it's rain, it's better to come back.
Okay.
Because you need crossing a river.
Right at the beginning of the hike, we would have to cross a river. And if it started raining, the river could swell. That was interesting, so we kept that in the back of our minds. We started on the hike. We crossed a very lovely river. Whoa, it's one of those walking, jumping Jesus lizards. All right, I'm gonna test the waters before I let her go over. Let them go over. Because that's what men do. Oh, my feet are cold. We were having a lovely time. The weather was wonderful. I was taking pictures along the way. I was enjoying taking photos of them and the environment. There's a lot of very similar photos over and over because I had the same subjects, and then the environment was, you know, relatively the same as we went along. It was a lot of fun working in that creative box. And a Costa Rican jungle is, yeah, it's a pretty nice box to be in. So we finally make it to the last section of the hike, which is these really sharp switchbacks going down the side of the mountain. I was thinking, hey, this is going to be interesting to get back up. I am definitely going to have a snack when we get to the bottom. It was fun because at this point we started to hear the waterfall through the jungle and we knew we were getting close, and this was a big waterfall. All right, first peak of the waterfall, maybe. Wow.
Nice. Whoa. It's multiple tiers.
You can see it crushing into the side of the mountain. That's bananas. I like big waterfalls. Here's another big waterfall in Idaho. Welcome to the biggest waterfall I've ever seen. Where? So we get down to the bottom of these switchbacks, and after going around a little curve, within that curve is another place that looks like a place where a waterfall has been. Just something to note. We get to the waterfall. Woo! All right. Wow. As soon as we get to the waterfall, rain is happening. We realize we're not having a picnic at this waterfall. We can't be here too long. Let's get our photos and our videos, our contents, and we need to start making our way back because we need to get across the river. And not knowing that area well and how the dynamics work in the jungle with water and where it comes from, I was a little worried about this non-active waterfall as well. I was like, okay, let's make sure we get on the other side of that so we don't get trapped here. So we sat there for a second, we got our contents, and then we started making haste back. And as, you know, husband and father, I'm thinking there's something a little unnerving about being in a foreign jungle with a rainstorm happening around you, and there's a river that you might have to cross, and there's a lot of rain. You don't know where water is going to fall off of. You know, it was interesting. So I'm thinking through all the variables in my head, trying to make a good plan. Me and Christina were talking. The rain was really picking up as we were going back up these switchbacks, and I didn't want Kaya to get too cold or too wet. She's probably thinking, what have my parents gotten me into? I will say, the pep in our step made us get up those switchbacks with a different attitude. On the way up these switchbacks, we ran into a couple who were making their way to the waterfall, and the guy ended up being a forestry expert, and there's going to be more of this couple shortly. So we finally get to the top of the switchbacks. It's pouring. It's a thunderstorm at this point. And I'm thinking, how close is the lightning gonna get? So this hike at this point has transitioned from a leisurely jungle walk to a challenging and exhilarating experience. Put this on a little earlier.
Yeah. The rain jacket doesn't really do much when you're soaking wet.
In the back of my head the whole time is we have to get back to the river. We have to get back to the river. One of the things that is now happening all around us is water is sprouting out of different locations. And there was one bend where a waterfall had sprouted and it was awesome. I was able to get some really fun photos there. It makes me start to think about how jungles work and how water funnels through it when there's a rainstorm. It's very interesting. We had Kaya's head covered with the hood. She was fine the whole time. She was just hanging out. So finally, after this long, half dry, half wet hike, we make it back to the river. And the river is a different river than the river we left when we started. Oh dang, it's coming up. Oh my gosh. This is crazy. It's now brown, it's swollen, it's not a creek. It's a river. It's bussin'. So we realized we're now stuck on the wrong side of the river. That seems like a metaphor that you would use for our life's problems. So we sit in a van down by our wrong side of the river for a while, so long that the other couple makes it back, and we start, getting to know them a little bit and chatting. The hike guide fellow from the beginning of the hike was standing on the other side of the river. He was waiting for us to get back. So our plan was we were going to wait for a little bit to see if the river would die down, because this is a normal thing. The river swells, it dies down. We knew it was going to eventually die down, but my concern started becoming that it would either start raining again and there would be more water added to the river, and or it would start to get dark, which makes everything harder. So we needed to get us back on the other side of the river. So what ended up happening is the hike guide fellow had gone and called the locals. They show up with a rope and they work on trying to get the rope over to us. By this point, the river had died down. It was less than when we first got there, but it was still cooking. So one of the guys from the other side of the river steps into the river and crosses the river with the rope in his hand. And now we have a rope going across the river. All right, let's go. All we gotta do is get across. So we began crossing the river one by one. It was ladies first. Christina went right before me with Kaya. That made me a little bit nervous. So I'm watching. I was just waiting for them to stumble because I was worried about Kaya's head going under the water. But Christina kept her footing. She got across. That made me feel a lot better. I then stepped down in the river, got my footing. Didn't know exactly what to expect. All right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Go again. It was a fun day. Thank you.
Good job, man.
Thank you. Good job.
That was awesome.
All right, hike complete.
I love it.
And it was fun. It was a fun time crossing that river. It was exhilarating. The whole experience was a fun challenge. It was an experience that me and Christina will never forget, and we'll tell Kaya about over and over. Hopefully we can reactivate those memories in her when she's 9. I'm very thankful to everybody who helped us get across. It was a community effort, and yeah, that was that. And I'll quickly cover another forest excursion from Costa Rica. We went to a cloud forest. Now this cloud forest was an entirely leisurely hike. No exhilarating turn of events, having to, rolling down a cliff. No monkey attacks. Took some photos as we walked along. We were making our way to a red suspension bridge in the forest, and that was amazing. We got to the bridge, took some more photos, got our contents, trying to put Christina, Kaya, the bridge, the jungle all together in a pleasing way. The red against the green was terrific. It was like a Golden Gate Bridge in a jungle. We kept hiking past the bridge, and at one point we took a left, and there was an area that looked like something out of Lord of the Rings. The Trees were in an archway, and there was a bench, and there was an opening, and you could see out onto the mountains. Well, I should say only if the clouds allowed you to see the mountains. The clouds would move over and it would reveal different parts of the mountains, and then there would be more clouds and the mountains would go away, and then the clouds would move, and then there'd be more of the mountains again. Mountains, clouds. That particular area felt like we had taken a left into another realm. It was just a magical spot. Then we made our way back, this time without the threat of a raging river or a dragon. That was another jungle hike. That one's too terrible to talk about. And so I had a blast going on these 2 jungle family hike photo walk excursions. And I hope you enjoyed this invigorating and deadly adventure as well. I hope you were simultaneously excited and also fearing for your life while watching this from your home. But you know what, guys? We all made it through this together. We all crossed a river today. Hit the buttons if you like. Thanks for watching. I love you guys. Have a good day. Goodbye.